Gotta roll it out. I don't even know what it is. Cheap. That's a beautiful watch. What is it? It's cheap.
It's I like that. Okay, there it is.
I'm old school. Hey, I grew up with cardboard, baby. Throw it down. Throw it down. I know. I couldn't do the head. It got stuck on my phone. Hey, welcome in. Bridging Civil Tension. This is the show here at 216 The Net where we say, you know what, let's build a bridge. Let's meet in the middle. Let's talk about stuff that irritates people and upsets you. Let's come to commonality. We can either walk together across that bridge or separate, go both ways, but don't ever blow the bridge up. He is Phil Wallace, author, entrepreneur, coach, mentor, trainer, world traveler, just all around good guy.
This is Ken Jones, apparent break dancer.
Yeah, oh yeah, old school. I can pop, do a little pop and lock. And I forgot, for those of you out there listening and are not joining us on social media, Phil is African American.
African American.
Yes.
Guilty.
We just want to make that clear. I, of course, founder, owner, CEO of DDOE, which is the mother company for 216 The Net, am not African American.
Depending if you've seen him hoop.
Am not.
If he hoops.
Yeah, not anymore.
He's an honorary member.
Yeah, not anymore. It looks like a fat guy trying to sumo wrestle a ghost. It's not good. All right.
I think Adam Sandler's dad's on the court.
Right. His last movie, I like that, Hustle.
I love him in Hustle.
And you know that guy, I think, is signed with the Jazz now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His teammate tweeted, Bo Cruz.
Yeah, it's awesome. He could play.
Yeah.
Game to him, which is good. So that's good. Listen, if you got topics, you got things you want to talk about, go ahead and throw them in the comments. If you were tuning in for the first time, you see that we have totally upgraded, remodeled. The owners came in and really did a great job in putting together a new experience here at 216 The Net. This studio is tight now. It's nice.
Feel fancy.
Got a few things we just got to button up, but it's tight. Yeah.
It's like a nice Texas home.
Yeah, it gives you a good feeling when you walk in, for sure, which is great. So last week we were talking about why people were so comfortable just throwing that N-word out there, and we kind of left off someplace. There's so many things going on.
Great. So I know we left off, and then I wanted to talk to you about this. So like I was thinking about it because there was one quote that was like, I don't understand why African Americans are so comfortable saying that word. Why would anyone want to say a horrible word like that to each other? So I did my research, right? I felt bad leaving the show, and I was like, man, why is it just us that does this? All right. So I was on Facebook, and a friend of mine who's in the LGBTQ community was scrolling through Facebook, and one of his friends was like, they were going back and forth, kind of ribbing each other, and he goes, B. He says the B word.
Yeah.
I know you're a zesty, A isn't talking. And I thought to myself, I was like, wow, this dude just called a gay dude a B and
zesty.
Which is gay.
Right.
I would never think to call that person a gay B, because it's not my word.
Right.
I'm not in that community. It's not my word to say. And when I thought about it, I was like, man, I don't want to ask for a pass. I don't want to say, can I say it?
Right.
Because it's not my word. The one thing I know about those words, I can't say those words, and if I say those words, I'd get punched for saying those words.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, maybe that's just them. So my buddy asked me to step out. We're in a local spot in Crystal Lake, and I was like, well, let me get around some other people. Maybe it's just them.
Yeah.
There's a group of, let's say, younger, probably early 20 white dudes, and they're by the bar, and this dude's friend comes up and he goes, "Oh, this F word," the AGGOT.
Yeah.
And he goes, friends like, long story short, he's like, "I'm not gonna drink." He's like, "Oh, don't be a little B.
Right.
You're gonna have a fucking shot." And I was like, man, he just called his friend an F word, a B word. Those are horrible words. Why would anyone want to say such horrible words to their friends? Now, what do I know about those words? I can't ask that guy, "Hey, can I say that word? Do I have a pass? Can I say it? Can I say it too?"
Right.
I can't say
I'm with him. I'm with him. I'm here.
Right. If I tell, no, he gave me I can't do that. I can't go to other middle-aged white men and say, "Hey, F word, don't be a little B, have a drink with me." I'd get punched in the face if I did that in another state. I can't say, "Well, my buddy can't give me a pass. It's not going to happen."
That's cool. He's cool with it.
So I was like, all right, well, let me get back to my seat, right?
Yeah.
And then so this group of, I was like, maybe because they're young, that's why they did it. It was like, 40 to 50-year-old white women, and then they were like, telling a story, and it's like, "Well, this B right here. Why would anyone want to call their friend such a horrible word?"
Right.
And she played it out because there's a group of them. She's like, "Well, that's better than this skank." And she points down playing to the friend.
Alex.
And I was like, oh my God, she just called her friend a skank. And then the girl who's the skank of the story says something and calls the first one a "see you next Tuesday."
Oh, no.
And the whole table laughed. It's such a horrible word. Why would anyone want to call their friend to "see you next Tuesday"? Now, what do I know about those words, Kent? I can't ask for a pass to say that.
Well, Alex, good morning, says, actually, Phil, you have one more week of your cracker pass. Use it wisely. Use it wisely. Sal, of course, SG3, good morning. Listen, come tomorrow, 9 p.m. right here live, 21.6, right out of this studio. The rundown, baby. The rejects are going to be live. It gives me goosebumps. I'm so fired up for this show. These guys are top shelf. Maybe on this big screen behind me, too, we could have the pay-per-view rolling. But let's see. But, I mean, literally, these guys are, I am fired up for it. So, Sal, good morning, and looking forward to that show. First of all, they have local spots in Crystal Lake. Did you know that? Bowling alleys.
They do.
The bowling alley.
I mean, there's like 4 spots to go out in Crystal Lake for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like Finn's, Fire Bar,
Yeah.
the Bimmies.
Right. So, in the same breath, we kind of covered it a little bit last week with Bree, though, is we take those derogatory words, transplant it with something else that means the same, but is quote unquote less offensive at the time. Right. And we talked about back in the 60s, Dr. King doing his thing, and we went from the N word to color.
Right.
Well, it's colors just
Negro color.
right. And now it's like, no, that's bad too.
Right.
Right. So now we call them African Americans or
Black people.
Asian Americans, or we throw their heritage,
Right.
or their supposed heritage,
Right.
On it now, and I think there's still going to be a time when that becomes derogatory. It's all how it's used.
It will be.
Right? Just like you're saying, I had this conversation a little bit with Bree, but also with Alice, was, I used to throw around retard all the time.
Right.
It was just the 80s. Or you're gay. It's so gay. Meaning it's dumb. That's what we used it for. Because we weren't woke, we weren't a society of whatever back in the 80s. To now, if I use, he's retarded, that's derogatory to somebody who's got a mental developmental issue, right? And now we call them SPED kids,
right?
Meaning special ed, which is more derogatory to me. SPED,
right?
That's horrible. I cringe every time my wife says it, but she's comfortable with it. And if they're walking, so if you're walking down the hall, if these children are walking down the hall in high school, other kids are, "Oh, there's a SPED."
Right. That's just ammunition.
I'm like, wait a minute, this is bad too. And yes, I caught myself this week. I was talking. I was talking with somebody on the phone for work, and they had one of those voices that were not deep,
Right.
but not high either, with a name like Tony. Okay. And I wasn't sure, boy or girl, and or. So I had to be very careful to always use Tony.
Right. Instead of yes, sir.
Yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. Because a lot of times yes, sir. If I'm working with people, that's just how I was raised. That's what I do. So I had to be like, yeah, Tony. Because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to offend anybody.
Right.
5 years ago, I wouldn't have. I've been like, okay, yes, ma'am. I'm a dude. Oh, sorry. And then I would talk about it. I was on the phone. I was like, yes, sir. And it was a chick.
Easy on the helium.
Right. But now I'm not that I'm woke. I wouldn't say that, but I'm now more cognizant of what I say may offend somebody.
Right.
And my core doesn't want to offend people. So I addressed, is that Tony with an I? Is that Tony with an E?
Right.
What are we going with this? Is it a Y? Is it Andrew Tony from the Sixers back in the 80s?
There we go.
Shooter. Straight shooter. Let's see. Alex says, do we have a this generation MLK? If so, who would you think it would be, and for what group, and how do you think we as a society treat them?
Honest answer?
Yeah.
No, because all of them are in jail or murdered.
What about Chappelle?
Chappelle is pushing it, but we've talked about this. Even with High on the Hog, right?
Yeah.
If you want to tell truth, you have to do it through comedy or some roundabout way.
It's a
You
different
can't-
story.
You can't
History or
say
something,
we will overcome on a...
Right.
They'll attack you.
Right.
So if you look at it, they're either dead, jail, or afraid to speak up because of what they witnessed from their peers or people. Because you got to think about it. If you watched Dr. King, your friend, get shot and all this, and MLK and other people from the Black Panthers be sentenced to years in jail without, a lot of them just shut up.
Yeah. Shut up and dribble.
If you stand up on the plantation,
Shut up and dribble.
you get the whipping. So no, I don't think that there necessarily is. I think you have to be discreet with it in a roundabout way, but there's not just one person because they've seen that not work.
I don't think there's a leader, quote unquote,
Right.
a leader. I think a lot of society is just turning that way. And I think more and more people are standing up, going, "Yeah, it's not right. Yeah, it's not." No. Is it a majority yet? No.
No.
But is there a movement over especially over the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying, like, there's no Fred Hampton.
And it started right here on the bridge, bridging civil tension, 21-6 and that. We opened this up. So we are the MLK. Right there.
Seeing it.
Right there. I hate to brag. No.
Not to come across as a braggart, but
I think so. But I also think the people who have been mistreated, the people who have been held down, the people who have been marginalized for no particular reason other than the color of their skin are now not as afraid to go, wait a minute. Okay?
Right.
We have people like Colin Kaepernick, right? Who stood up for something and protested quietly, which made a lot of noise. Okay, now I don't think he is the next MLK,
No.
brilliant guy, but he used his platform to be able to do what he needed to do, which created quite a stir and still does yet today. Whether you agree with him or not, that's fine. Right? But he might have been the lever, perhaps, that started something.
Right.
Right?
I just, like, for instance, if MLK is going to be in Chicago, you know he's here to talk about this openly, passionately,
absolutely.
And with respect to what Colin did,
Sure.
that wasn't what
I mean,
Colin
there's a man who sat in the White House for 8 years, who, if he truly wanted to, probably could do that.
From my understanding,
If he truly wanted to.
everything from his opinion was vetoed. So I don't even know if they really wanted to hear him talk like that.
Well, while he was there, but now,
I think he has a great opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
But you also have to play the political game.
he does.
And what happens if you don't play that political game? Suicide.
Well, well, there's no more vacations to the island, is there?
I don't know.
Oh, and by the way, our good friend Julian Maxwell got sent to a low security prison in Florida, where she is playing, where they have, shuffleboard and bocce ball.
Nice.
So for all the crap and horrible things that she was involved with, you are now at the state retirement center.
A pleasant
federal.
stay.
Yeah, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Alex says, I can agree with that, but now we have more diversity and more sects of people who are trying to rise up. Anyone in those other quote unquote categories, we now recognize. And do we see the diversity leaders working together, or only focusing on their own course or cause?
Right.
Cause.
I feel like for a lot of those, it's like name one. And you can't. Like, for instance,
Correct.
Until there's a scandal, you can't tell me a leader of BLM until there's a scandal. And then now they're recognized as a leader for this cause or whatever the case may be, even though I don't agree with the company. I agree with what it's supposed to identify or the movement was supposed to be. But there's not a person. There's people who speak out openly, but I think there's so much of a push to discredit what they're trying to accomplish, more so than actually sit here and listen to, okay, this is what they're talking about. If I can get you more focused on BLM, the organization, then you can just totally discredit BLM, what they're trying to highlight. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Are they working together? Yes, a lot of them actually are. There are all sorts of conferences and leaderships all across the country. You just don't hear about them.
Look how fast Asian hate moved. Went
how
so fast it's off the radar now. We
Man.
got laws passed.
Laws passed.
And
Okay,
done.
they're good. You just don't see it televised or spoken about as much as you would hear Chicago crime. Because if it was ever publicized the same way as Chicago crime, right? If it was ever publicized as much as Chicago crime, then people start to realize, man, they're not all savages, they're not all thugs, they're not all unintelligent individuals. They actually do try to get together for common causes.
Right into this camera
and,
here.
Sweet. And to prevent crime and things like that, and to highlight certain things. But they're just not going to get televised, because then they can't perpetuate what they're already pushing.
Yeah.
That's why you don't see that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these are. A lot of these are, I'm the child that's not getting the attention, right? So, let's go to this comment, because I want to address this. Do we have a gay lightning ride like Harvey Milk? Do we have a Malcolm X or a MLK? Do we have a Rachel Dalziel? Just kidding. Did I say that name right? I don't know. Dalziel. Bridging civil tension is interesting, because we talk about color of skin diversity, but do we recognize all diversity, and do they work together, or are they all just focused in their individual silos? And does that make sense in today's world to be so fragmented? Okay, so we'll go this way, because Alex, I know for the first probably couple years you weren't able to tune in on the app here. Bridging civil tension. We talk a lot about racial injustice, because it needs to be. There are other diversities. We don't skirt those issues, But this is the issue that we needed to talk about and address when we started this show,
Right.
is specifically back because there was a lot of tension,
So much tension. And no
and there still is today. Yes, and we talked a little bit about it last week. Hey, this building that I'm in is not ADA appropriate.
Right.
It was built in a time where it didn't have to be.
Right.
Okay, does that make the builder, the owner of the building, insensitive to people with disabilities? No.
Right.
Could he put in a elevator, a lift? I imagine it costs money, but probably money that a business doesn't want to spend. Doesn't mean that they are not
Hateful or
hateful. It is what it is. Now, but for years and years and years, that's what we said about black people and just it is what it is.
right.
Yeah, it is what it is. Right. So what we try to do here, is we try to pick topics, pick issues that a lot of people are fighting about.
Right.
Right. Now, yes, the LGBTQ. That is right now gaining a lot of popularity for discrimination and that type of tension, civil tension, and we can absolutely talk about that.
Right.
Now, with that said, I'm going to have to bring in a guest because I am neither LGBT or Q.
Right.
I will sometimes watch films. Never mind. Anyway, so as we stated at the beginning of this show, I am not African American.
Right.
Phil is. So the idea of the show was you've got a 50-year-old white guy,
Right.
grown up in Iowa, and you have a mid-30s African American, grew up in a couple different places in the United States, ended up in his high school years in white suburbia,
Right.
to give you the examples of this is what it is. This is why I ask the questions or think, oh, it's reverse discrimination. You guys get to say this and do this, but as soon as I let that word go,
Right.
and I had some great conversations this past week because I never thought of it. So we're saying you can't say one word.
That's it.
And you're going to fight for that. And I had to think about that and go, yeah, what's okay, right?
That's just the one that's off limits.
Now, I don't use it, right? It's
Right.
still, and like I said, I grew up in a town that was probably 50-50, and I would be down on the playground, and I would at times be the only, white guy on the basketball court.
Right.
And very, very comfortable with my friends and people that I was playing with and whatnot. And I will tell you, I was a cocky little SOB, right? But and I got pushed around. I pushed back. I wasn't scared because we were just playing ball,
Right. Just hooping.
right? And I had to earn my own cred down there. But at the same time, never would that word come out of my mouth. Never.
Wouldn't go well.
Not if I was one-on-one with him or the only white guy in the park. And still today, we talked about it, right? If it's in a song, and if I got Eazy-E rolling,
Right.
and it comes, it's the lyrics. It comes out, and my kids will be like, Dad, but I'm like, it's a song, right?
So, because it's you, Alex, and we could be more comfortable. We know each other's hearts with this, but I've noticed this, right? No one goes on Derek's show and says, "Why don't you talk about anything else?" No one would go on the wrestling show and say, "Why don't you talk about basketball?" No one would go on the food show and say, "Why don't you talk about sports?" But if it's a show that's designated for bridging this
Yeah.
type of tension, I'm asked to talk about something else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen on any other show where it's expected that, hey, this is your niche. But why don't you talk about water polo, Derek? Because Derek's show is about guns.
Right.
It's not about water polo, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you watch this, we've talked about this. We talked about this during the Asian hate thing.
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, I'll take a step back. I won't talk about this. Let's talk about something else. And I'll watch an Asian hate law get passed faster than this would be passed. All right, well, we still need ours. Well, let's focus. Get your eyes just off of you guys. Okay, so then LGBTQ stuff will get passed faster than things will get passed for us. So I'm seeing those other categories and those other topics doing better than us. Like Dave Chappelle joked, he's like, I'm watching you guys in the race Olympics thriving. He's like, man, it's actually, I joke about these things because it's more frustrating to watch, and we're just baffled of how things are moving so quickly for you guys. So, although it's important, it's not necessarily my race. Now, if, like Kent was saying, if someone from the LGBTQ community wanted to come on the show, awesome. We're doing things for troubled kids in Crystal Lake, and they want to come on here, awesome. If there's a person from a women's movement who wants to come on the show and give a talk, awesome. But as far as like the woman doesn't make my son feel safer if he goes to the playground when he turns 15. Is he going to get followed and killed? So this is my category.
Nate, you take naps on the casting couch? Not yet. It just got here this past weekend. I actually got here on Wednesday, so no, not yet. Maybe I'll let you know though. Alex says, "Will we We will never see a racial social justice movement like we did in the 50s ever again. Our attention is too fragmented, just like we will never see another Beatles or Elvis. Well, I mean, you don't have to look far. Elvis is still around. The only way, in my opinion, is if forced voices come together. That's why there's so many in LGBTQ and gaining awareness, because they banded together and worked together to grow the awareness. It's hard because outside of BLM, you don't hear the NAACP much anymore doing something. I'm sure they do great things, but you just never hear it.
But why is that?
Yeah. Well, again, here's what I'll say. If you're talking with people and 90% of their conversation is about politics, they watch too much TV. If you're talking with people and 90% of their conversation is about conspiracies, they're watching too much social media.
Right.
Right? So the reason is we know that the mainstream media will push their agenda. So here's something funny. Usually it's every 4 years where we have an outbreak of something during an election cycle. Well, isn't it interesting that we're rolling into the mid-year, or the midterms as they call them, and now we have another breakout of something.
Right.
If you watch how things are written and directed in, especially in the United States, I'm not even going to say the world, just the United States, you'll start to go, interesting. So why? Listen, right now, we don't talk about the NAACP because they're not. That's not what's causing the civil tension.
Right.
BLM is.
Right.
And again, I'm going to say BLM. BLM is like Kleenex or sheetrock.
Right.
It is an organization, but truly the movement is about
something entirely different.
The lives of African Americans and how they have been mistreated, misused, abused, just terrible, right?
Right.
Terrible. To answer your question, bridging civil tension, in my mind, wasn't defined as one type of bridge. I thought in generalization terms of bridging all tensions. I can stick to just color of skin coverage. No. But again, like I said, I won't jump into a pool that I can't answer.
Right. I can't speak on behalf of a woman's feelings for her.
Define a woman. Never mind.
Right.
Never mind. But that's why I say, I've got a niece who's a lesbian. Wonderful. I've got friends who are gay. I've got friends from high school who are trans. They're welcome.
Right.
You want, but I can't. I can only go from a white guy, heterosexual.
Right.
There you go. Okay? So if we're going to bridge that tension, we got to meet in the middle. Come on in.
And
We'll talk about it all the time.
We've opened that door.
Again, he's black. I'm not. There you go. Right? So it's easy for us. This is our quote unquote lane on the bridge, I guess. Right? So if you're out there and you're LGBTQ and you want to come in and talk about those injustices, hey, the door's open. Give me a call. Stop on in. Absolutely. Right? And Nate says, yo, Phil, the shoes are on fire.
Yeah,
but you got to get some shoes called Hey Dudes. So comfortable. Yep.
Bro, this is like the 8th time in a week and a half I've heard about Hey Dudes.
Yeah.
Mark was talking about them. I think you talked about them.
Okay.
Nate's talking
about them. So 3 white guys are telling the black guy to get some Hey. Hey, I get some plaid shorts.
Those 12s are fire. But friend. Until you get some Hey Dudes.
Hey,
you don't know comfort.
That's right. You don't know.
Nate, all jokes aside, I'm looking at getting some. It's just finding a 15 in Hey Dudes is kind of tough. They don't have them at the store. But I'm going to order some.
Good God.
These are 16.
Alex calls bullshit. Politicians have been speaking for women's feelings and rights for hundreds of years. You can do it.
How's that received?
Rob Schneider voice.
How was it received? When all those politicians made those choices for women, it was anarchy. They were frustrated.
Yep. And that's where I stand. On a lot of my shows, when people question me, if I don't have the answer, I don't give. I tell them I need to research that, and I can come back the next week on the next show, and I'll give you an answer. But I don't want to just give you my opinion that's not fact-based on something, because a lot of times I have to chew on it and see how I truly feel.
Right.
I've said it several times on this show. I have caught myself watching commercials that are ethnically diverse and going, where's the white person? Oh, these guys have gone way over the edge. I've caught myself saying that, to which then I have to stop myself and go, wait a minute. Why do I feel that way? And if I feel that way now, don't these people who have never seen an ethnic person on any commercial feel that way all these years? So that's what bridging civil tension is. And that's why I say I come and I'll say this is what white people are thinking, because I'm a white guy, a 53-year-old white guy, and I'm going to tell you that. Hey,
I challenge any person who does that to flip through the channels and keep a tally.
Yeah.
White, black, Hispanic, Indian. Just keep a tally as you flip through the channels. Unless you get to Sports Center. Right. Those ratios are going to be off. Right.
So Alex says, I'll stick to my New Balances. I rock them out with my khaki pants. The big white ones. The big white leathers with the blue end.
Yeah, the number one dad shirt over America.
The middle-aged Caucasian skin.
The 4th of July special.
That's right. Talk to someone at a store called Shoelace in Algonquin. They're knowledgeable about the dudes and can help out.
Gotcha.
There you go. Yeah. Listen. I got a pair of overalls too, real comfortable, but I'm not gonna make you wear the overalls.
Yeah. There's some cargo shorts.
Anyway,
hemp necklace. Right in.
Anyway, I love so what we try to do again, and thanks for I absolutely love everybody's opinions and thoughts on here, and I speak when I talk to people about this station, I talk a lot about this show because we irritate a lot of people.
Right.
And you don't know how many times I've had conversations. Hey, Phil seems like a good guy, but boy, he plays the victim. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not playing the victim. Right. So there's.
Didn't you just rant on Facebook about a wrong Starbucks order today?
Right. Right.
Didn't you start us grinds my gears with my order?
Right. All right. So that's what that's what this show is designed to do, and selfishly, it's also designed to help me grow and become a better person, right? Because I want to become a better person. I can, for years and years, I ain't racist. I don't see color. Well, you got to see color.
Right.
You got to see it. You got to recognize it. And, yes, have I been looked at and followed in a store? Yes. When I was the only white person in it.
Looks suspicious.
Right? And that's okay. But it wasn't for long.
Right.
But there are people out there that every day that happens to them just because of the color of their skin still today in 2022. And that is brutal. Darius Rucker had a pair of Hey Dudes. Listen, he's a country singer.
You did not just say Darius.
He did. That's so good.
I like Darius.
No,
but
he's good.
But Nate, come on, man. Come on, son.
Good enough. Maybe if you said Michael Irvin or somebody. A little rougher.
But I like them.
Right.
They look comfortable, smooth.
I'm going to tell you, if you want a comfortable shoe, if you really want to go that way, ON. They're out of Sweden. It's a running shoe or a walking shoe. I showed you that pair I had on a week or so ago. And absolutely the most comfortable shoe I have ever put my foot into. So I don't get it. I mean, they've knocked it out. I'm telling you, you got to try. They're not cheap. They ain't like Hey Dudes that are cheap. I mean, these things are, you're gonna spend $1.50, $2.50 on them. They're good. Oh yeah, I know. To a shoe connoisseur, that's not a big deal. But the people who are listening, I want you to understand. They're called ONs. Really, really good. So check them out. You love them.
All right. Kidding.
I mean, they're not Jordans. I get it. They're not Jordans. Yeah, I'm not a big Jordan fan.
Moms and dudes.
So Phil, in your opinion, and not trying to point fingers on your side of your what's it say? Proverbial fence. Proverbial fence.
Yeah.
Here, let me try this. Let me read that better. Get that up there where I can.
There we go.
There we go. What does the African American culture right now? What are they doing wrong to not speak up? And I'm not saying their culture is doing something wrong. I'm saying there is no person, there is no movement, there is no social awareness, cultural truly growing, that people aren't looking or jaded about financial things. Obviously, my pure white culture needs to fix our problems, and we can do way better. Right, so let's as they say, let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
So Phil, in your opinion, and not trying to point fingers on your side of our proverbial fence, what does the African American culture what are they doing right now, or what are they doing wrong to not speak up?
So again, I think for multiple times, they're speaking up. It's just not televised.
Okay.
Right. So if I'm okay, the gentleman who was the leader of the movement. And we didn't hear about him until his check. They said that he was fraudulently trying to deposit a check, right?
Right, yeah, that young guy.
Okay,
yeah.
So the young guy, we wouldn't even know who he is if he wasn't doing anything. He does it, it's just not televised.
Right.
The only thing that's televised is when they think he's up to a crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he wouldn't be known for what he's known for if he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a misconception. We've talked about this when we're talking about the sports, that athletes just get their money and they just spend it on jewelry. And no, there's athlete after athlete after athlete who does things for their community, who builds houses, who does apartments, who will go to stores and grocery stores and buy groceries and gifts for kids all day long. It's just not televised.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that our community or our culture isn't doing anything. It's just, we had this conversation many times. We don't control the outlet.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing that I would say that we are dropping the ball on is ownership of outlets that would allow us to be shown in a different light. The problem is that's only up to 4 companies.
Yeah. Somebody was trying to tell me that the leader of the the people who own the BLM are white people.
Yeah.
They are?
Right. And the owners of BET are white people.
I knew BET. I don't know about BLM.
But even then,
so.
why do you guys get your own station? Okay, who owns the station? Well, you own the station. I don't own the station, so I can't even televise myself doing good things or being outspoken on this station for black people because you own it and you don't want me being shown that way. So the only thing that you have is a bunch of Instagram or Facebook leaders who
Yeah,
are
but that's the
doing
contract we signed with you.
slave
With your
deal.
grandfather.
Right.
Hey, there was no expiration date.
Right, but at the same time, for you to offer me, let's say $100 million or whatever, but now you have the rights to it for forever,
Yeah.
or $200 million, now you have the rights
Whatever,
for it forever.
no.
Well,
So he's,
in a lot of
but he's
situations-
also saying there's no one person. There's no movement. There's no social awareness.
Okay, let's
Culturally,
unpack that, though.
truly
Again,
growing.
If you've made it, so every time a person like myself decides to be like, you know what, I'm going to be the voice of Chicago, and I get shot 46 times in my home in the middle of the night, it's known that this government organization did it. Nothing happened to anyone nothing happened to anyone in that organization. Why would Pierre then step up?
Yeah. There are. You can go into any minority neighborhood
Right.
in any town, and there are leaders who are constantly doing great things, encouraging, speaking up, showing up to city council meetings, showing up to school board meetings, fighting to make change.
Right.
You just don't see it.
Right.
And again, it's not enough friction but
So
we will show, somebody getting shot a lot.
Right. So we're as a group that is trying to actively bridge on all accounts, do we get to where we reach the mental tipping point where we realize
Right.
it's not that black people aren't, it's just that white people aren't televising, or that whoever else, I'll say it that way, the powers that be aren't televising the multiple people who are very outspoken and constantly trying to raise awareness on different topics, bridge people together. Even in California, where they're doing gang truces, where Bloods and Crips are no longer being violent to one another. They do picnics and all sorts of events all the time to try to stop that. It's just not televised.
Listen, the next time you see Sale slapping, he says, "What about the good old-fashioned Crocs?" Cheap and comfortable. Listen, there is. I think it was in one of Sacha Cohen's movies where he said, "I'll never wear Crocs because Crocs are a symbol that the Caucasian male has given up on life." I own one pair of Crocs. They're flip flops. So if you didn't know they were Crocs, you wouldn't know them, right? And the only reason I have them is because my son got them, and then he left them at home, so I started wearing them. But listen, I would never be caught dead in a pair of them Crocs, right? One thing, one of my black friends, see what I did there? So this is good because he's got a black friend. Said was stop calling us African Americans. Just stop it.
It shows that you're thinking too much. Black people.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with speaking up and not a televised part of that. So is the main part because of not having a microphone to be heard?
I believe that we have microphones. I just believe it's not going to be allowed on the radio. It's not going to be allowed to be televised. So the only thing that you can hope to be is, again, like a social media influencer who speaks out on it, but you're still combating so much.
Listen,
on the other side, it's going to be very hard to dilute the concept.
Alex, of course, Alex is the owner of Prime Media Consulting, a great business. You know more than anybody about algorithms and how things work. And it's not that it's not getting done. It's just not falling into your algorithm.
Right.
Okay? And it's not falling into a lot of people's algorithm. It's getting buried.
How many people are looking actively for intelligent black people?
And again, well, you can. The guy who made the peanut.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
There's
as
the
far
five.
as
There's the five.
if you look at most of Chris's, like, are they looking at Chicago violent rates? Or are they looking for how many outspoken, positive black people we can find?
Right.
This isn't even touched. They're only over here.
Yeah. So the truth of the matter is, the way social media works is if it irritates you, we'll put it on your feed.
Right.
The longer that you watch something, the more you comment on things, and if you give it a thumbs up, we just keep moving along.
Right.
Right. But if you spend several minutes, they watch time. I mean, you know how this is, Alex. It's absolutely the truth is it's happening all the time. Unfortunately, most people don't want to go and find it unless it shows up on this device,
right.
On a smartphone, on a tablet, something that they're glued into. Because why? Because this is where I get my education now. This is where if it ain't on there, it ain't true.
Right.
Okay. I laugh at how many conversations I have with people that base an argument or a conversation on a meme. On a meme.
Wholeheartedly. They know.
It becomes a talking point for them.
Know. Who made that meme? I don't know.
I am just like, where'd you get a? Wait a minute. Yeah, I got a meme.
So you don't know who made the meme.
Look at 6 years. Look at 6 years ago. The most intelligent person in the world was a letter. Q. How many people were like, hey, I read Q.
Right.
Hey, you watch. It's all gonna come tumbling down. Q. What happened to Q? Went to LMNOP, I guess. Alex says it would be very interesting if there was a social media page or an outlet that highlight every state and the leaders in that state on what they are doing for social change and awareness, and it was blasted out to them. Like MTV was supposed to be about music television. It's not anymore. BET was the opportunity to do all of this, but they don't. Why? Because they're owned by white folks.
Alex, are you listening? BET is not owned by us. We just covered this. So they're not going to show it. They're not, because I don't own it. Kent does, hypothetically. So they're not going to show well-spoken, well-to-do, positive influencing black people on that station. They're going to show twerking. They're going to show violence. They're going to show ignorance.
Now listen, let's just stop right there. Really nothing wrong with twerking. If it's done properly.
If it's done properly. But I'm saying an opportunity to...
Well, there's a delay. Well, there is when you're typing, absolutely. Because social justices aren't profitable. And when you have the outlet, you care about the profits, not the cause. They'd rather put a real housewives show or a reality show because people buy spots for that.
Right.
They aren't paying for social justice commercials.
Right.
YouTube, Facebook isn't getting the buys on social media videos. So sorry if it doesn't make money. They aren't doing it. Correct. And that's a problem. Until that problem changes, you'll never get your microphone and flight. Correct.
Okay. And we've talked about this even with the music industry.
Yeah.
Right? If they would offer people the same type of contracts to talk about spoken word or positive, uplifting, forward-thinking concepts, then rappers would change their tune. However, what they're paid for is ignorance. They're paid for violence. They're paid for that whole persona. And so if I'm a 16 or 18-year-old black kid in the ghetto, and you're going to give me a $1 million contract, plus I'm going to make $6 million this year, and I can get out of this situation.
What about the Island Boys?
Ignorance gets paid. The Island Boys could have been intellectual individuals in another metaverse, right?
They could.
But hey, I could be Bad Baby. I can Catch Me Outside. How about that?
Yeah.
I could be any of these things, and if they're going to pay me for ignorance,
Yeah.
they're going to wild out.
Jen Krejci, good morning. Jen says, hey guys, tune in late, but we'll catch the rewatch later today. How's it going? It's always going great here at 21.6 of that. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, Jen, big help. She's put together our web page, and she and I got to do a little more work on that. So, Jen, I hope you don't have to work all weekend. Bree, how are you, sister? She says, we get microphones and are labeled as people who are victimizing themselves. But if you follow smaller accounts, you will see black people of all ages going to these meetings, expressing their frustration. You'll see the good people are doing within their communities. A lot of people don't follow those accounts because that's content they don't want to see. Or maybe the algorithm is keeping it from them because it's based on what... I lost my place.
On what they've liked, watched, and shared, it doesn't
pique their interest.
Right.
Yeah. So, right, and but let me take a step back from that, Bria, and say this: as a white guy, well, it's about time.
The what?
It's about time that you people started taking care of you people and stop complaining. It's about time. Why do the whites always have to go down and bail us out?
Who do y'all bail out?
It's about time.
Who do y'all bail out?
It's about time you people started doing that.
Who do y'all bail out?
Years and years and years. We've bailed
Of
you
what?
out. We've bailed you out.
Of what?
That's what we do.
When?
When? We do food drives. We give you kids toys. We come
Do
down.
you?
We go down there. That's
Do
what
you?
we do.
From the goodness of your heart.
I'm telling you.
From the goodness of your.
Right, I'm telling you, from a white guy, that's what you're gonna get, right?
How?
What do you mean how?
How? If we're all cards on the table, you're telling me that overall, on a governmental or societal level, thank you. It's not even kind of received as truth. It's always with a hook. The only time they can help out is for ownership. Hey, listen, I'll help you with BET. I own it now.
No, I get it.
I'll help you with this radio. I own it.
I get it. I'm just telling you what a greater percentage of white people my age and up are going to say when they see that.
I'm with you that it's not. That it's
It
not
ain't me.
Kent.
It ain't
It's
Kent,
not
right.
Kent. It's Kent speaking on behalf of
Correct.
where we live. But that's why I'm saying it just is how. And me and you could be like,
Right.
when?
Right.
Because they don't if they're thinking that, it's not even close.
Right.
It's not even the closest thing from which is why we're sitting here saying, like, okay, I watched how fast they did come in to help out Asian hate. Where's that same help? If you're into helping people so quickly.
Yeah. No, we'll come down.
Will you?
Yeah. We'll do Toys for
see.
Tots. We'll do Toys for Tots.
MLK was 60s, and he was told to be patient, so this...
That was a mistake. Somebody shouldn't have told him that.
They were told him, be patient.
That's
this is
right.
over 50 years later.
Yeah. Hey,
Man.
I'm just saying that when we see things like that, we'll scroll by quick or whatever, because that's what we say, right? Well, good for them. They should start doing that.
Okay, let me ask you
They
this.
shouldn't be killing each other.
But
with
here,
guns
okay,
all
but
the
here's the thing. How are you going to scroll by and say good for them, and then in the same voice say they don't do that? That they aren't meeting like that. They're not having these conversations. That they aren't trying to make a change. That they're not pulling together. So pick one, guys. Either it's about time and it's happening, or it's not about time and it's not happening. But you can't scroll by a meeting and say that we're not meeting.
time. But that's what we do.
But I'm asking for some clarity because I am confused.
That's easily done.
These people who are gathering to make a change in their communities aren't meeting to make a change in their communities. In my Crocs.
In my Crocs. In my Crocs and cargo shirts. That's right.
Come on, man. It's too easy.
And that's frustrating. It is frustrating. But that's how we brush it off, right? And we say, you know what? Good. You guys are finally getting it. And instead of going, you know what? Let me roll up my sleeves. Let me get in there. Let me help them out. You know what I'm saying? Now we accept it as, well, good for them. They're stop killing each other. Now let's just get the crack out of there. Let's get heroin out. All right, so
That's Woodstock.
you don't hear about the heroin epidemic in the projects, do you? You just don't, right? You just don't. But what you hear about is the heroin addicts out here in white suburbia. Alex says we care about the we, but not we really care about the me and mine. And whenever money gets involved, you'll always have the problem because we are chasing that. Do we ever hear about how much money MLK, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, etc. made off the movements? I don't ever recall ever hearing that. I'm sure time smoothed those rocks and they said the same things in the 60s, but we know exactly how much BLM and everyone else makes off their movement. Yeah, right now, that's a big thing.
Made off of it?
Right. So like today.
Hold on.
Yep.
Not half as much as CIA agents paid people to infiltrate MLK's group and Malcolm X's group to murder them. That's how much they made.
Yeah.
Less than that.
Yeah, but what I think what he's saying is now instead of backing the movement, we're trying to pick apart
And that's what
the
we
business
said. They
structure.
discredit
Yeah.
any opportunity. Hey, this is we'll care about them when their lives matter. Okay, Black Lives Matter. Well, Black Lives Matter made this. So you just said that you care if it.
Well, last on Wednesday, the Slate Real Talk with Scott Dean, all about Hollywood. He was talking about his comedy Dead. And what we said about Hollywood is it's no longer about entertainment, right? So back in the 80s, you'd make a movie like Stripes or Porky's or something like that. It was stupid. It was funny. It was meant to be entertaining, right?
Can we dance with your friends?
But now, if I were to come with that script, okay, Hollywood's going to look at it. Well, you're going to irritate this many people. It's not going to make $1 billion. No.
Right.
Okay. So it's gone from our whole society has gone
art.
from, especially in Hollywood, artistic to bottom line driven, right? But again, Phil's not going to be on my movie unless I pay him $500 million to star in it.
But I mean, you are seeing where more people are starting to get their own studios and stuff like that to try to combat it, or independent films as well, because they want to have the art and the artistic expression and be able to create without having to be told by Hollywood, no, it's not good enough.
Well, right. And going back to what's being fed to you is if you are looking for that voice, then you get certain black celebrities or certain black politicians. See?
Right.
To support your opinion and your ideology. It doesn't mean that black person is ignorant. It doesn't necessarily mean they're paid off. I don't know. It just means that they have perhaps a different idea or have been swayed to think differently. But those are the ones that you get.
But okay. So since you brought it up, nobody thinks it's a coincidence that the only forward-thinking black people are the ones that think like Republicans. As far as when you're seeing constantly pushed that heavily, it's fascinating to me to sit here and watch that the only people that I see shoved on my timeline, shared, the C, are the ones that think like white people, generally speaking. That there is no other I have yet to see a forward-thinking black person. One of my white friends have that share button with the same confidence, poise. I don't see it if it doesn't line up that way. And I'm not even seeing them, not even as far as like a D or an R, just confidently pushing intelligent black people my way. The only time it's pushed in my direction is if they sound like a Republican. That's not a little curious to you guys of that's the only ones that we notice that can conduct themselves and speak well? That's not fishy a little bit?
Don't look at me. Why are you looking at me?
I'm saying if we're fitting the description for some shady stuff, man. The only intelligent black people sound like Republicans. That's the only the twins, him, Carson, Candy, and
I will go back to earlier in the show where I say this has become everybody's education. This smartphone.
That's their shield and their sword.
And again, if you talk about politics, probably 90% of your time is watching the news on the television. If you're talking about conspiracy theories, 90% of your time is spent on social media. And yes, we do want you to not think for yourself. We do want you to feel that we want to push you in a certain way. We want you to line up in the same stall all the time. Yeah. A cow, and believe me, I know, growing up in Iowa, a milk cow, they will go into the same stall every time. It's not that they're smart, it's how they're trained. It's how they're trained. And oddly enough, they will line up. And if they're not lined up in a certain way, when they come in, it kind of jumbles up.
Right.
Because Bessie's got to be in the third stall, and she got behind the fifth and sixth stall, and they're slowing down because they're going to go in here. The, if I so that's take a look at go down to Union Station, go down to Ogilvy, watching people get off that train. They're cows. That's what America wants. They want you to not think. See, I feel good, and I'm going to show you the 3 people on my feed that agree with what I say. They won't dive into it, and there's more than 3 people who think like that, and there's more than 3 people who don't think like that. But to your point, where are the other ones?
I don't see any of them.
Right?
With millions and millions of views.
Correct.
Of intelligent black people other than the ones that sound like Republicans.
Calm down. Calm down. People are going to think you're not a Republican, and you'll awaken the Kraken.
Have your side. I'm in the middle or whatever. I'm just saying, it's just fishy to me.
So Jen asked an interesting good tonight. The lotto drawing is over $1 billion. What's the best thing to do with that money for the good of humanity? What's the top 3 things that could use a push in a positive direction with monetary greasing? No, we aren't going to Mars, and my manifested billion lotto. Elon and Amazon can work on that industry. The best thing you can do for humanity with that money, burn it. Start a fire. Burn it. See what happens.
It's sad to say that $1 billion won't even start to touch what would be needed to stop one of the biggest problems.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about that biggest problems. They get moved to low security facilities.
Right.
With that $1 billion, something should be done to stop one of the biggest problems that's not really talked about.
Yeah.
And it would be putting an end to the people who get moved to low security facilities for horrible things that's done to children.
For people trafficking.
I would figure out something, but that $1 billion with the powers that be where they are, that $1 billion wouldn't even scratch the surface to actually solve it.
Yeah, it's true. It's gross, and it's yuck. It's yuck. Listen, we're over the time, man. We've just been talking and rolling. I can't thank everybody enough. I can't thank you guys. Your comments, they're great. That's what Bridging Civil Tension is about. Phil and I are throwing it out there. Anybody in the LGBTQ community, we'd love to have you on here.
Or any other vertical of.
Right. I mean, we've got, Ted Legal is on, and if you can't make it to the studio, I can always send you a link and you can be on. That is not an issue. We'd absolutely love to have you because we want to bridge those as well. I can't defend or speak for that.
Right. I don't know what a day in their life looks like.
Again, I don't mind watching some of it.
Right.
You get a certain channel or website. That's it. Oh shit! There, I thought I was going to buy the Detroit Lions. Thanks for making. Hey, I appreciate everybody out there. Remember, come back. We've got a lot of good shows today. Tonight we've got April Air in the Quiet Cool studio down there for Dream Home Experts. 3 o'clock we're going to have on. And then with Steph and Joe, so don't miss it. Thanks for everybody. Appreciate who you are.
Oh yeah.